So we have talked in the past about kind of a synergy between the oil wildcatters in West Texas and the solar wildcatters. Can you flesh that out just a little bit?
Yes, well, it's really an oil play, as you know, in the horizontal drilling world, which really has taken off in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's remarkable to imagine that the United States has gone from 5 million barrels a day to almost 9.6 million barrels a day last month. That 4.6 million increase in 4 years is just remarkable. That's like adding an Iraq right here in Texas. But what's happened in Texas is that these oil wells still need pump jacks. And pump jacks are those things you see that go up and down, but these are big ones because these are deep wells and they're horizontal. And so they have 150 horsepower motors or larger on them. So as the oil fields are producing, then the energy demand in West Texas begins to increase. Now, that hasn't happened in a long time. West Texas has been losing population to the cities in the east for a long time. And so we're actually seeing the load increase out there. And because the transmission systems out there weren't designed for more load on the distribution as well as the small transmission grid, I'm talking 69 and 138, because they weren't developed, then all these pump jacks put a demand pressure on the system out there, and we have a nodal market system in Texas. So what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years is that the price of electricity has gone up in the areas of Texas where solar is at its strongest. And so it's at least ironic that the solar industry is able to come on quicker and stronger because of the demand that was put on the system by the oil industry, and the pricing out there is such that we're gonna see solar be developed in West Texas almost on a par that we saw when we took off with wind.
We're in a moment where climate change is being taken seriously, certainly in the presidential election campaign. I think that's really ramping up, and there seems to be a critical mass of people understanding that we have to move quickly to a renewable economy. Um, but the predictions that have been made for how quickly we can bring renewables on from the usual sources have usually been way too conservative. It's coming on faster than anybody imagined. How quickly do you think it's going to be before we start to see a majority renewable economy across the country?
Well, we're going to see one in the 11th largest city here in a matter of years. I think you've heard me talk about this before, but you have your generators and you have your load and you have your transportation system. And, certainly Tesla is looking at how they can solve some of the storage issues. But the storage issues are really not that critical, not until you get well into the 50 and 60% renewables. Do you need storage?
Right, and in fact, the price of storage is coming down faster than most people thought it would.
Yes, and Elon Musk is doing his part to do that. I've seen some other folks who have come through Austin who have flow batteries that they're looking at. There's the old idea of compressing air and then using that to drive a gas turbine at very high efficiencies, and which all of those kind of early attempts to store energy, besides the earliest attempt, which we've been doing for 100 years, which is pumping water up to a higher elevation and then letting it flow back down. And that's actually a fairly decent system if you've got the infrastructure for that. But like I say, we should be able to get most of our storage out of our transportation system. You drive to work in the morning, take your car to work, then all the local solar panels. You recharge your car between 10 and 2 o'clock so it's full again. And then if the utility needs to borrow a little energy from transportation grid, it does, on peak between 4 and 6 o'clock, and it still leaves you plenty of energy to drive home. It's that kind of unification that we have to move to in order to have a really evolved energy system. And I think we'll be doing that. This is, like I said, this is what John Wellinghoff preached as the Federal Energy Regulatory Commissioner, and I think we will see this gain more and more acceptance and much quicker than many would imagine, especially at these prices. Because if we can get solar and wind at $40 a megawatt hour, all the folks who are talking about the Obama clean energy plan are really going to look silly, because the fact is that it'll be just like it is here in Austin. We'll be able to move and achieve the goals that the president wants to achieve, and as we do achieve those goals, we will actually, I believe, with the advancement of technology that we're seeing in Austin and deploying here in Austin, we'll actually see a reduction of rates.